All praise to the Most High Yahweh and to His Son, my brother, Mashiach Yahweh Shai, and blessings and peace to my Israelite brothers and sisters. Thank y'all for coming back for another YDNA video. This video will be around the different groups of white people, as well as a overall quick, simple breakdown on the YDNA paternal haplogroups and haplotypes. So what we are looking at right here is a chart of most YDNA paternal groups or haplotypes or haplogroups, whatever term you want to use. And this is not all of them technically because of how scientists want to try to rewrite groups of people into history. So some groups are missing and some groups are basically the same group of people. So they was using like one marker for it, and once information continued to get out about certain groups, they changed the group from one marker to another marker, or they used the same marker for certain groups when they could easily do the same thing for many of these groups and just go into in-depth detail breakdown of their branches. But instead they want to try to be difficult and confusing with some of the branches to rewrite history for white people to fit in. And the reason for that is there's two different groups of white people from different branches and from different sons of Noah. So we're going to get into that right now, right here with this chart. So on the right side right here of this chart, you have the so-called divining haplotype marker that define most of the paternal lineages. And on the left, you have the defining mutation signature for the branches itself. Not all the branches, but certain major branches dealing with the haplotype or the haplogroup. So we're going to get into what these charts mean, or these groups mean. So this red block right here would be your Hermetic block of people. And as you notice, you have E1A, E1B1A, E1B, 1B, and E2 under the Hermetic block. So this block of people are found in Africa. So what they wanted from this was they wanted to give you information on groups in Africa, but they poorly presented that by purposely putting all these people in this red block when only the A branches and the B branches are Hermetic group. The rest of the group are portions of Shemitic people that are in Africa. So they purposely did this because they want to make all dark races are part of Africa and Hamitic groups of people. And that's impossible. You know, you have different types of white people and different types of black people or dark races of people. So the A group and the B group are Hamitic people. Also on this chart, they could have broke down the B group into branches as well, with a B1A and then a B1AB and then a B2, but they didn't. They just left it at 2. So this is a chart that tells you that they purposely did certain things to confuse people and to inform people. So you also have in this block this E1B1B highlighted as a blue marker within a group of African sample DNA. You have E1B1B highlighted as a blue block. And that blue block right there for this E1B1B would be like a signature mark to try to sneak in the E1B1B people to this Caucasian branch of G people, because the E1B1B, certain branches within it are just pools of white complected people, very white or pale skinned people. So they want to try to match those people together. And so they highlighted this, even though the E1B1A group is dealing with people that came from the Great Lake region of East Africa, who lived in the Nile Valley region, and then they also lived in Greater Israel. So this group is now found in West Africa, the E1B1A group. And this E1B1B group is basically the twin haplogroup to the E1B1A people. This E1B1B, these are Shemitic groups. The E branch are Shemitic groups of people dealing with Abraham. So these people basically try to, and when I say these people, certain groups of scientists, not all the scientists, but certain scientists purposely did this, even though this E1B1B group is in East Africa and the Horn of Africa. So you're dealing with the Somali people, the Eritrea people, Ethiopian, Tanzanians, Kenyans, Sudanese, and then you go from that region to the north to where those dark people of Edomite descent turn into a shade of brown and a shade of tannish to pale skinned people in North Africa. And once they get into Greece and Albania and the former Yugoslavian region, you basically have pale skinned white people that are Shemitic people living among Japhetic Caucasian people that are also white. So we have that. And then So the other interesting thing is, so you have D and C. So D and C right here is supposed to be the C group before the D group, and the C group would be your Asian group of people dealing with Moabites. So the C group would be your people that would look like the Aboriginal people of Australia, a dark race of people with woolly hair, and that would be your Moabite people. And then the D group would be your other group of Asian people dealing with the Ammonites. That would be your Japanese people, and they will be located in Japan and some parts of China. And so we have that. So all these people right here, the A group, the B group, the E group, the D, the C, these are all dark races of people. Some pockets of the D groups are lightened people to where they've been mixing with the different groups of Caucasian people dealing with the Asian parts of the Caucasian Japhetic race. So you have that, and then you have a F group before the end of the Shemitic people. The F group would be your Elam group of people, your Elamites. That would be groups of paternal people dealing with Indian descent. So you have some F samples in Iran, India, and Pakistan. That would be your Elam, and also in Afghanistan, that would be that Central Asia area that you would have the Elam or Elamites. So they took away the F group, but all those people leading to that point would be Shemitic dark race of people by a heavy percentage. Like I said, you would have the pockets of the D groups dealing with some lightning, but not as a lot of lightning up as this E1B1B group. But if you ever seen Japan, the Japanese people, it's an interesting thing how media and a lot of special interest group, when they are showing Japanese people and pictures, they only show the white complected people, and most of the time those white groups are just Caucasian people from this group of people that are dealing with N to O3. N to O3 would be your imitation or your mirror group of the Caucasian race that are imitating the Ammonites or the Moabites. Because these Caucasian branches from G to Q, all these people basically are these imitation versions of the Hamitic group and the Shemitic group of people, with them having all these groups of people that would probably look like another group of Shemitic or Hamitic people, but they are not. They are basically Japhetic Caucasian people living in the region among these people as well. So you have that dynamic going on. So this G group right here is supposed to be the first group of all these Caucasian branches. And what they did was they aligned all the pale skin groups before the dark groups, before the groups that are fair to a brown color to a dark color. And I believe the dark races of people which are at this R range and this T group right here, they would be your original group of Caucasian people. This T right here would be actually on the map, on the next chart that I will show you. That T group will actually be related to a K branch. So you have a K1 and a K2. The K1 and K2 are basal groups of subclades, and they have an alternating allele gene that produce a mutation. So the mutation is like a recessive mutation of the hair turning into a blonde color, and the eyes are turning into blue eyes or green eyes. But these are dark-skinned people, and those would be your people in the Pacific Island region, among the Solomon Islands and Papua New Guinea. So you'll have that going on, and then with the R1B group, and even with the R1A group, you have unique basal groups within this group, because in this group you basically have two different pools of population of white people and black people within the same haplogroups. So that's what R1A and R1B would be. So if there's a African American person that have Native American paternal lineage, you will be considered from this R1B or R1A group, mostly probably the B group, but you could probably be from R1A. These are basically still a dark group of Caucasian people, and these group might just be the original starting point for the Caucasian race, and then later on they start to lighten up due to those basal groups and this group having those flexibility with the genes to just produce so many different content of mutation or dark races of people. So that's the unique thing about the R group. And as you can see, they decided to do a R2 when all those things, all these groups right here from G to Q are just Caucasian people. So with the R group, the commercial DNA companies, um, they want certified those groups as a native group in America. Even though some genome project studies and some government project studies of DNA will make those groups a Native American group. And like I said before, when these people are made as a native group, they tend to get confused with the other Caucasian groups of people, and or black people, because like I said before, this is your group to where it is dealing with white people and black people. This Q group, that will be your red skin to brown skin type of Native American people. This will also deal with your whitewash version of many Hispanic people. So real quick on the R group, many of the Native American tribes like the Seminole Indian, Cherokee, Choctaw, Blackfoot, many of those groups of people would be either this R branch or even sometimes the C branch. You only have a few Native American groups signatures. So you have these two right here, the R and the Q from the Japhetic group, and then the C, the Moabite people from the Shemitic group. And those people most likely mixed among themselves and created other dark complected groups of Native Americans. So you have that dynamic. And I think that's all I wanted to explain on that one. So we move into the world map with these samples. So we're going to go to the America. So in America, you have, in South America, you have this Q3, Q3A, you have C3, and those would be your Q would be, like I said, the native Caucasian people that are mostly dealing with these Latino groups or Hispanic groups. And then you have them being the imitation of this Moabite group of people that are also in the region, the C3. So, like I said, the Caucasian group is the group that is trying to rewrite history to fit certain looks of people into history. And that's because this is the better understanding of the prophecy in Psalms 83, to where this alliance of countries and tribes and nations of people trying to do away with Israel and trying to take their identity, when later on in the future, right now, you have those groups of people starting to fight among each other, and those groups of people forgetting their identity altogether. So that's a blessing right there. So that tells you that we are getting ready to move into our rulership, into our kingdom, with all this information coming out and with all these people forgetting about their past, and now we are able to remember our past. So we have that, and we have the islands in the Caribbean. I was expecting right here, when I got better informed on a lot of things. So it's already to the point to where the Native American groups that we look at as black people or African American people as well are not related to the E1B1A group or the Hebraic Shemitic Israelite groups. But all those groups are, once again, either Caucasian groups of people who are Japhetic or Shemitic groups of people who are Moabites. So in the Caribbean island areas, you have the Taino peoples, the Saboni people, the Caribbean natives, and you have a few other native groups that scientists were trying to say that they went extinct, but a lot of the groups are mingle among the C group. So all those groups and other pages of government projects to look into all these native tribes, many of those groups are Moabites, the C group. So the Taino people, the Siboney people, many of them are marker with many of those people are marker with C DNA, and then they have the Q, they have the R as well. But many of those people are among those samples. So, and once again, and if there's E1B1A people among those people came from the slaves that was brought to the region. So there was no signature dealing with a massive native population dealing with the E1B1A. So that was the most interesting find. And I was like, at least the Taino people would be different. But I found out that that wasn't the case, you know. So many of those people are just, you know, Moabites that have been darkened with the mixture of the the Q groups or the R groups, and also the Arawak classification is an umbrella classification for Native American people. So you have those people basically being different groups and races of people that are dark, but they are part of the same region, and they might have similar languages, and the culture might be alike as well. They might have also they might have practices of Hebraic culture. The thing is, many of those people will probably most likely have very similar style with writing in Hebrew or having some understanding of that language, as you could easily see the artifacts and everything. So that doesn't make these people our brothers and sisters just because they spoke Hebrew and knew the language and a lot of uh, cultural things that a lot of Shemitic groups of people would do as well. Remember, the Moabites was also Shemitic people as well. So we have that understanding. So the Arawak, once again, is a classification for all these Native American groups of people. I thought Arawak was just an exclusive term dealing with the Hebrew Israelite groups of Native American people that would have the E1B1A ancestry or branch, but they don't. And I was shocked to find that out. So you have the Arawak, including the Inuit or term of people, and the Inuit is just a classification title for Eskimos. So many of these people are also related to the Eskimo, and so you have at the top a Q3 in that region, and the Q3 would be your Eskimo or your Inuit group. So that would be once again a Native American group dealing with a group of Caucasian people that would look like Asian people, but they are from Asia. They would be the Caucasian branch of people that would look like Moabites, but the Moabite groups would be this C3B and this C3. So that Go group at the top right there, and then this group at the top in Colombia, in Costa Rica area, Chile, Peru. That would be your groups of people. Now, what we do have to understand when we understanding that 12 tribe chart, that a lot of our people as slaves was brought in after Caucasian people enslaved many of these dark races of people, and when those people was put to labor or got into wars with the white people, the white Caucasian people, they basically killed a lot of the people. So they needed slaves to work the land and the area. So they brought in a lot of people from West Africa to replace the population that they've been wiping out. So that's the understanding with the Native American groups. We move to Asia, and as you can see on this map, real quick, we're going to get into this Australian region. So right here, yeah, C4, that would be your Moabites. They would be your Aboriginal people. So as you know from pictures and documentary, these are a dark complected race of people with woolly hair. They will be your Moabite people, your Shemitic people. So also above them, the group that would imitate them in the Caucasian race would be the K and the T. So once again, the K and the T are very similar markers, and they use this marker on purpose because they can. And basically, once again, this is dealing with the Caucasian people that originated from the Greek Isles, this K group. So this would be your brown skinned people or dark complected people with the recessive traits of the blonde hair, the blue eyes, or the green eyes. And they are among a lot of these islands in the Pacific and the Solomon Island region. So you have a lot of those people closely together with other groups of Caucasian people, mostly these O groups, the fake Chinese people. That will be your O groups. And that's like that because China always been trying to use certain groups of Chinese people. I don't know right now at the time if the Moabites that are the C group or the Caucasian people that are the O group was often used as part-time slaves. So when people talk about the Japanese people and the Chinese people being slaves, The problem is, yes, they were slaves, but many of those people wasn't slaves for a long time because they wasn't good at being slaves. In one quote, the Portuguese people felt sorry for them in their docile state to where eventually certain monarchs would pardon these groups of people after a while, and they just, let them be because it wasn't that very good of a working class. Even though some Hollywood movie would probably, show how hard Asian people worked in certain places as slaves, that was some, but not all the case. So eventually, many of these Asian groups did like light slave work, and they was set free because the labor wasn't consistently a good part, or um, it wasn't up to speed or up to par with what Caucasian people wanted. So once again, you have mainland China being basically dominated by these fake groups of Caucasian people, this O group, and then among them you have the Ammonites, your dark races of Ammonite people. But I'm pretty sure once you get to Japan, the Ammonites would start to look like some some of the groups of pale uh, Caucasian groups of Asian people. But you also have a lot of dark people in that region as well. So media just show these pale looking Caucasian people as Asian people most often. And then we get into India. India will be your F group. As you can see at the bottom, you have a CDFK T marker. And so that would be your, since there's so many people in that Indian, Pakistan, Afghanistan, Bangladesh region, you have a H marker, a R marker. These are the H would be your marker that are dealing with the pale skin Indian people. When your dark skinned Indian people would be the F group. And you also have L in there, and N should be in there too. L, N, sometimes M. Those would be your Central Asian version of the F group. For the Caucasian people, that would be their imitation groups. And so in the Middle East, many of these people in the Middle East are I group, the Scandinavian groups of people from far north Europe. They the same group of people as the J people. So the I group would just be your next major group of pale skinned white people. If not, they are the major. They will probably most likely be the bigger group than G, because as you can see, G is around the Black Sea region, and G will be your Georgia Russia type of people. So J would be your so-called Middle East or Near East Arab groups of people. As you can see, J1 and J2 over Saudi Arabia, and J2 over Iran. So the irony is those people that are in the same region are just the same people in Israel, Saudi Arabia, and Iran. All these people are the same groups of people. Iran also has a age group as well inside of it, and they also have our people, a group of E1B1A people in Kashim, Iran. So we move on, and as you see, this J1 group is also bled into parts of Egypt, Ethiopia, Sudan, and then you have the Horn of Africa where you get this E3B1, and that's just a fancy way of saying E1B, 1B, 1B, 1B. That's your group of Edomites. Then you have the E2, that would be your Midianites. You have E2 on Madagascar and E3A. So you have Ishmaelites and Midianites. You have Hamitic people, and you have a group of E1B1A, as well as Caucasian O group of people on Madagascar, a heavy populated little island. And then you have Africa in the south, certain parts. And right here, it shows you how the Bantu expansion affected Africa. So this A group is a very small pocket now. The Hamitic groups of people are very small compared to the so-called Bantu people. The whole umbrella term of Bantu people. So you have these small pockets of population of Hamitic people, the Pygmies and the other Sudanese types of Neolithic groups. And then you have these massive populations of just individual tribes that are outnumbering these Semitic groups of people. And like I said before, Bantu is just dealing with groups in the region that have similar looks and cultures and languages, and they vary with being the same people or different people. Many of them are the same tribes. Many of them are just different tribes of people and different races of people. As you can see with this R1B group being in the Niger Chad region. And here you have our people, E1B1A in West Africa. And on this you have pockets of Ishmaelites among our people. So we have to be mindful about Ishmael being in between Edom and Israelites in East Africa, North Africa, South Africa. They are there. So now we get going to this, into this EUpedia site. This is a very interesting site. This site basically give you information directly dealing with Caucasian people. Mostly Caucasian people. They do have other Shemitic groups of people, but these would be dealing with the whitewash version of these groups. And we're gonna go through this page as quickly as possible. I'm going to give some thoughts on some of the people, some of the things that we see. Okay, right here, this C group, you have the famous person being Genghis Khan. So this group would be your Moabite group, and as we said before, many of the Moabites that we could look as a depiction of the group would be your Aboriginal Australian people. So I don't know if this is a whitewash picture or authentic picture, but I always thought Genghis Khan was a Turk, so from the Ottoman Turk Empire. So I thought he was Caucasian, but he is also he is also just one of those people that could be just mixed with Caucasian groups of people with a Moabite. So this could be a real picture of them, but nevertheless, this group right here would be your dark race of Chemitic people, the first group of dark race of Chemitic people. You have another famous person that is C3B2B1. Remember, this will be your also the Native American marker as well. So we have a famous D1B, 1B, 1A, 2 person. We have some more. Shogun. We have his clan and his people. We have some more. Now we get to the interesting part. Now from this part on, this page get more interesting. So these are the only two black people that they do on this page. They do Ramsey III, and then they do Nelson Mandela. Both of these are Hebraic, Shemitic, Israelite people. And this right here will kill a lot of birds with one stone. The Hollywood myth or the Hollywood mistake and the Kemet myth and the Kemet mistake. So Hollywood often portray Egyptian people as white people. Well, you have a dark person as Pharaoh, as most painting in Egypt and the pyramids and other locations show those people being just dark race people. So you have evidence of not just Pharaoh being a dark person, but Pharaoh from time to time, outside of Joseph and Moses, was also Hebraic Shemitic people of Israelite stock ruling Egypt. So this Ramsey and his father that preceded him, they was both heavy into that culture at the time. So they was basically taking over during a time of chaos, and Egypt was falling apart, and this father and son basically rebuilt the structure of that civilization. So this was after Joseph, way before Moses, way before the captivity. But this is proof that our people was in Egypt for a very long time, because we had Ramsey as a warrior pharaoh or warrior prince ruling for a good amount of time. His father ruled for a very short time, and most of their cultural values was centered around Hamitic Egyptian culture. So they revived the dynasty to bring it back to its original strength and character of just being a empire worshiping many gods and wickedness. So that would be your version of a modern day two-third Israelite ruling in like Babylon in America or in England, and they would promote the wicked society that always been during their time. So I got stumped on this Ramsey the Third, so I had to do some research, watch some YouTube videos to get the dates and everything right, and to get a better understanding. So I came with a better understanding after a while, and we always have to do our best with trying to edify ourselves before we can edify other people, and we have to make certain of certain things to be right. And so without science debate, Egypt, they the interesting thing is a lot of scientists, they try to trick people by these um, jumps with decades and centuries. So it's easy to get pharaohs and settings confused by decades, but you can't do that by century. And so a lot of scientists agree that sometimes historians try to misinform a lot of people by jumping these dynasties and people by centuries instead of saying this multiple decade point, these people's here and there, but instead they just mislocate and relocate people by centuries, and that's how a lot of people that study Kemet get confused from the beginning. Nelson Mandela, we already know about him from the last video. And now we have this E1B1B group with another group of interesting Shemitic Edomite people. This will be your white group. Remember, in the Horn of Africa, you have those dark races of people that are not like very, very dark like him, but you have they have this brown, ruddy, fair skin type. Those would be your original Edomites, and these would be your just on the scene, just created group of Edomites. And at one point, at one person, you could actually find out who was the group of white maternal people that they mixed with on some of these. So we have that. We have the Wright brothers with their invention on air travel. We have LBJ, that evil guy. Larry Page, another evil guy, the Google co-founder. It'll get better. It'll get better. You have Napoleon. He's your E1B1B general. You have Albert Einstein, another one as well. He has this Ashkenazi Jew. So once again, there's a Limba hoax out there, and the Limba hoax is dealing with the sample testing of a Hebraic Shemitic Israelite tribe of people that been practicing Torah for a very long time, and they are located in Zimbabwe and South Africa. So these group of people is sampled, and scientists, instead of you know disclosing the information, they basically took other samples of other people in that region, and they put it together to get this charting of different races of Jewish people to fit in all these races of people that wanted to be Jews. So they created something that I call like a Jewish entity. So it's several haplogroups and haplotypes of people that they put together in the sample. So they excluded the E1B1A group, and they added this E1B1B group because, as you can find out later on this page, you're going to find out there's more groups of Jewish people outside every branch and outside of every haplogroup. So you basically will eventually understand that these groups of people just created an entire Jewish race, and that's good, that's fine. I just call them the Jewish entity, and those races of people are basically Jewish. They're not Israelites. So I'm fine with that terminology as long as we understand that those people are nowhere settled in the the place that we understand is the greater Levant, the greater region of the Garden of Eden, the 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 understanding of what is actual Israel. So even the E1B1B people don't even have claim to that signature area. So that's why it's important to understand what the Nile Valley region has to play in our DNA. So they basically did that sample, and then they took a total different sample of the E1B1B group, and they put it with those groups, and you had this E1B1B group as a bigger sample test pool for this Jewish DNA. So, and they had this J group. So they was trying to make the Limba group this J group as well. So you have a Shemitic group of people being Jewish. You have the Falasha people being Jewish. They are Hamitic people from A. You have Q, you have R, you have J, you have a lot of our Caucasian group, Javetic Caucasian groups. So this is E1B1B. You have Nicolas Cage, a famous actor, his uncle, a famous director and activist, and a famous critical thinker. He's spending most of his time um, exposing his people system. You have a famous soccer player, You have some more branches. Italian person. Here we go. Hitler. So real quick on Hitler, you have a lot of people that have been misinformed on Hitler being uh, a love child of the Rothschild family. Well, right here, Hitler is E1B1B, and that's the irony. This is a group from the Horn of Africa. So Hitler is actually a part and from a dark race of people, like most and all people, but he's a Shemitic dark race of people. He's from Edom. So once again, some white people are Edomites, not all white people, and we have to understand there's two different groups, and so this is what this page is better depicting and showing our people to understand. You know, so we have that Hitler being from the E1B1B group. Interesting. And now we are at that G group. G group would be your Caucasian group of people, your pale skinned Caucasian people, and like I was saying before, you have this G group being the first group of Caucasian people, where these science people are trying to write in all these white people into history. This group should be the last group of the haplotype of Caucasian people, but instead it's the first group. So you have this. You have some famous G group people: Joseph Stalin, Larry Bird, just some, not a lot. And now we are at the I. So at this point, we get into presidents and other wealthy people being from these branches and groups and stuff. Let's see. Okay. You have a French prince. You have Alexander Hamilton, Andrew Jackson. This is the I group. This is your other overwhelming population of Caucasian people. This would be your Scandinavian group of people, the I group. Calvin Coolidge, Jimmy Carter. You have Warren Buffett, Bill Clinton, Sting. A lot of presidents in this I group. James Monroe. You have Martin Luther. You have a famous tennis player. Another I group. You have Bill Gates. You have Davy Crockett. You have Andrew Jackson, or Andrew Johnson, my bad. You have Chuck Norris, Stephen King, another I branch. You have Elvis. Notice they also say that he had Cherokee roots. Okay, buddy. Not if you in this I group, that marker would be for the R group. In reality, you either to be a Native American, you would have to be from the R group, which commercial DNA don't consider as a native group marker, or from the Q group if you are from this Caucasian branch. This is why I tell you that the DNA should just be limited to two markers for this Caucasian race, a dark marker and a pale skin marker. But instead, they do this to make other white people look as stupid as many black people with the misinformation passed along from generation to generation about Native American people being in a family. So, and then they marked this branch as Slavic. So, this Slavic marker would be actually dealing with a lot of the Yugoslavian people, and many of those people in Yugoslavia and certain regions in Greece and Albania, those are just your pale skin E1B1B Edomite people, Shemitic people. So this is a lot of misinformation and terms that are misused with groups of people, because we all been fooled by the way people look. And even right here, when you get to this J group, this Middle Eastern warrior family group, you have them using this Heshemite title. Heshemite is dealing with Shemitic terminology, but these groups of people are not Shemitic people. These are Japhetic people. And you have all these Middle Eastern warrior families and sheikhs and sultans, whatever you want to call them. You have Dustin Hoffman. You have the Rothschild family being a part of the J group. So, but I thought these were Jewish people. Some Jewish people are a part of this group. They are Jewish people. They are part of the Jewish entity. So they are rightfully labeled, but they are not Israelite people. They are not even Shemitic Edomite people. Some more famous J group people. You have Bernie Sanders. Like I said, these are Jewish people, Bernie and Adam Sandler. But they are not Shemitic Edomite people, or they not, nor are they Shemitic Israelite people. These are just your fake groups of people that portray Arab people, and many people try to use the term Arab for Ishmaelite descendants when you're just dealing with native people of Middle Eastern and Northern African regions. So that's what we have to understand. Look at Ben Affleck. Now we have your L group, your group to imitate the Moabites or the Ammonite people. You have them there. You have another group to do the same thing. You have another Caucasian Asian group to imitate the C and the D group of Ammon and Moab, or Moab and Ammon. As you can see here, Caucasian Asian people. Caucasian Asian people. And now you have your Native American group of people, a Q, which is also a Caucasian Asian group. as well. You have Robert Oppenheimer, the guy that helped Einstein create the bomb. Larry David, a guy that admitted that his family had Atlantic slave trade ties with owning ships. He's a Jewish guy, and he's in Q. Oppenheimer and David being Q. Now we have R, and this is also a interesting group. Real quick, we're gonna come across somebody of interest. This is your R branches, R1A. Tom Hanks, Nikola Tesla. Here go your Ottoman Turks. Benjamin Netanyahu. He's a Jewish guy. Let's see. Herbert Hoover, Anderson Cooper, John Adams. We get in there, we get in there. A lot more presidents. James K. Polk, Ulysses S. Grant. And right here, we run into a person of interest. The Stewart family dealing with King James. So this is a R1B marker. So a couple of things. King James would either be a darker complected person, because this is a whitewash virgin, but he would be considered a darker complected Caucasian person. And this is one of the misinformation that we are struggling with. So King James would be R1B. He would be a black person, but he would still be a Caucasian person, Japhetic. So we have to understand that. And he was blessed to do certain things to bless this understanding of our history, you know, because the Most High, he could use anybody for vessels to promote his will and his power. So King James or the Stewart family being able to do certain things to get certain points of history out to our people, that's something that we have to understand. And we can't say that King James was our people when he was most likely, like many of our people, once again, that are African Americans that have paternal ancestry from Native Americans. They are most likely from this R1B group. And this R1B group would be what I would consider like your black Viking group of people that lived in different parts of Europe and Scandinavia and the British Isles. And eventually they came to America and became one of the other groups of native populations that commercial DNA don't, acknowledge as native groups of people. So we have that. We have Che Guevara. We have some more people. We have George Washington. Abraham Lincoln. He was a Native American, they say. So this is lining up with what I've been saying all along. You have Grover Cleveland. I have some more branches. Charles Darwin, Justin Trudeau, Kevin Bacon, Robert Downey Jr. In this T group, T1A group, Thomas Jefferson, and this right here is an interesting one. You think his picture been whitewashed? Nah, I'm just playing, but yeah, once again, this T marker would be your K marker. So maybe he was a fair complected person because a lot of those people are this light brown complexion, but I wouldn't be surprised if he was a lighter brown or just pale like George Washington and Abraham Lincoln. But Lincoln probably had a little bit of color since he was from that R1B group. So it's hard to tell because like our understanding of history have been wrong and misinformed. So who knows where the original picture or the depiction of Jefferson is. We just don't know. We just understand that most of the American presidents been white people. Most of them Japhetic Caucasian people that are white, and one of them was LBJ, who was just a Shemitic Edomite that was white. And this was my presentation of the different white group of people. And I thank y'all for coming back to this channel and listening to me. And hopefully I edified somebody. And hopefully we can continue to build upon the information and bettering our people understanding of the different groups of white people and the different groups of dark races of people. And this is what I'm here for, to bring the connection of the different prophecies to a better point to connect the dots with this DNA information, because DNA is helping to solve a lot of crimes. So we can also use it to solve a lot of things in history. So we are at that point to where this information is becoming important along with history. So we have this map once again, and once again, all praise to the Most High Yahweh and to His Son, my brother, Mashiach Yahushai. Peace and blessings to my brothers and sisters from the Israelite tribes. Shalom.